Yay!
Got it.
All right, I hereby call this October meeting of the Brew Robotics Club to order. And thank everybody for being here on this beautiful August evening at In Orbit. Thank In Orbit for hosting us.
Bob?
Thank you. Thank you, Kyung. Let's go ahead and kick this thing off. Let's start off with industry news. Do we have any industry news out there that somebody'd like to talk about? Oh, I do. Trying to reconnect. Let's see now. There's this generative AI conference in Santa Clara. I'm actually going to be going to it next week. I'll put the link in the chat here. Bear with me. I'm trying to get the link up here. Oh, here it comes. Bear with me. Okay, so I'm going to this Gen AI conference. I just put the link in the chat there, and let me share my screen. Let's see, am I sharing my screen? Yes. Okay, so here's the Gen AI conference. Actually, the thing that I wanted to show here is this is the company I'm going to be with there. It's Tobar Life. They're distributing, put a link in the chat, they're distributing the Unitree robot. So they got the quadruped dog. We've got a quadruped dog here somewhere, don't we? Is Chris around? Can you walk him around a bit? And also, we're going to have one of the humanoid robots with us. Let's see, I think this is the humanoid, the H1. They've got a $16,000 humanoid robot. You got the camera on that? I'm sorry. Let me stop sharing my screen. Hang on a second. We got something here. Okay, there we go. So that's the Unitree quadruped dog. I'll put a link in here for Unitree. Is there any other industry news this evening? Any other industry news this evening? All right, moving into club news now. Next month, we're going to meet a week early because otherwise it would be the day before Thanksgiving. We meet the last Wednesday every month. So next month, November, we'll meet the penultimate Wednesday, which will be the 20th. And we'll be meeting at Maker Nexus. So I'll put that on the mailing list. Everybody's on the mailing list. And we'll be at Maker Nexus on November 20. That's where the November meeting is going to be. Club news. Marco, you want to talk about Maker Faire? I can actually, I'm gonna put the links in the chat.
The camera now. Okay, so yeah, we had Didi.
I think it's that camera.
That camera?
Yeah.
Okay. So yeah, we had Didi had her own booth with Thomas and Raphael and myself. And then for a little bit, we had basically the HPRC booth. And yeah, people were interested. I didn't see so many actually took pictures of the URL and
I got that link here.
but yeah, not too many showed up, I guess.
Was Maker Faire as big as it used to be?
Not quite. Yeah, but yeah, they basically have a new venue and try to make it somehow again. So yeah.
There you
It was
go.
Yeah.
Mark up.
I spent most time in the booth, and so I didn't take many photos. So
Can you tell us about some of these, that's our booth there.
that's basically our booth early on Friday
And I
morning.
see, Nick Thomas's Marauder there.
Yeah, he was basically in the dark room. He had nice lights on his
And I see Bee's robots.
somewhere. And
Chucky, Stephen
Chucky.
Yellen's robot, Raphael.
Yeah.
Yeah, in there, what robot is that? That's the swampy ones.
Yeah, that's the Sapi one and the decker behind it.
Good times.
Then quadruped was there for a moment and come on. Yeah.
Very good. Maker Faire. 2024. So these links are in the mailing list too, so check them out. Thank you, Marco. Okay, so next month, we're going to need to vote on a new sergeant at arms and secretary treasurer. Sergeant at arms and which is fiscal location set up, maybe and that sort of stuff. Strong, I think you're up for that. All right, sounds good. I'm gonna nominate you. And then we'll need also a secretary treasurer who looks after the financial aspects of it and also keeps track of the meetings, basically the business meetings. So if you're interested in those positions, I'll post them in the mailing list and volunteer, participate. Okay, any other club news? What are you asking? We will be meeting at Maker Nexus on November the 20th. And we'll post that in the meeting. See Rohan. Okay, what do I need help with? Is there a particular question somebody has or problem online, in person? Hey, Jim. Is there, we've been working with the Walks discussion group, we've been working through a lot of URDF things, so We have a weekly Ross discussion on Tuesdays, it's posted in the mailing list, if you can check it out. Experts and beginners log in, it's a really good discussion. We're building up a URBF Universal Robots speaking format, really from scratch. It's taking my, robot, doing the basic tutorial for the sandbox, and playing around with pieces there. Kind of interesting. Any other, what I need help with, folks, we're doing robots, right? Stephen? How's your table block coming?
It's not as fast as I'd like. I do have a problem. I decided to get the encoder on wheels to control this. As well as
You want to come up here and speak to the microphone? Stephen Joyce, ladies and gentlemen. That's the microphone.
this is the. I have my table bot, which has tried unsuccessfully a couple of times to get phase 3. Two things I want to put. One problem I had was with the speed and the distance, and another was I wanted to be able to sure to get it to stop. So what I did was I developed copy and paste an encoder code, and I sat there and moved the wheel, and everything would stop, just right. And then when they told it to move, it counted. Great. Then I integrate it into the program, and it goes moving along and just keeps moving. It doesn't. It somehow the codes have not been able to combine. Right? So on the same robot, I ran the encoder code, and then I ran my normal operation, move across the table with color, and it did not combine. I suspect, and it was on the same robot. So in other words, the encoder is running on that exact same hardware. Now I suspect that I'm going to be assigned when I'm like to be in the encoder code, but I haven't. Yeah. But if anybody else has any ideas,
Well, if you sign the pins back, that should fix it.
Well,
That's the problem.
That is the problem. But if anyone else has seen any problem like that,
And is it interface? How do you read the encoder?
let's see. I have it's basically you can see pulses of light that come through.
Yeah.
So it counts. It gets up to 2,400, maybe more steps, and then it stops when I'm not running the rest of the program. So I'm just running the small portion. But unfortunately, developed it separately. You might combine them. It's not working.
So you're doing a digital input of those channel A and B, or is it?
I'm just looking at one channel because I know if I direct it forward or backwards or turn. So.
But does it generate an interrupt in the background while you do other stuff? Or you manually read it?
What I'm doing is I turn on the motor, count the encoder, and say 2,400 stop, and then it pops out.
But how are you counting? How are you detecting?
Through the encoder on the wheel.
Like in the software?
Yeah.
No, in the software, how are you reading the pin?
I think what it's just doing is something for I know.
So you're doing visual read, right? You're stopping the entire code to read the codes. You're not using an interrupt.
So I turn the motor on first, then I.
Okay. So you do a while loop, you turn it on, then you do a while loop. Yeah. Are you using interrupts?
Pardon me?
Are you using interrupts?
No.
No, from my understanding, it does not. So when you put that in your other code.
Yeah.
Well,
Now, depending on the processor you're using, some processors also have a time range that we can redesign the refrigerator processor that makes up the load of the quality distributed counter instead of counting.
But basically your other code is running and then you're missing the transition. Because your code is constantly reading the pin and looking for and manually looking for the transition. If something else is running, you might miss one of the transitions. So then, like fundamentally, it doesn't.
I think it's missing all of them.
Yeah.
So, okay, which I already started.
Let us know. So yeah, post the plan agrees. What else? Anything else? Somebody needs help with somebody online? Alan?
Yeah.
Hey, the audio from In Orbit is almost unusable.
We'll try to get a microphone on the speaker. Sorry about that.
Okay, Megan, hold it closer.
We'll try to get a microphone on the speaker. Sorry about that. Is that the
You
microphone?
guys have two microphones on and I can't turn off either one of them.
When you're close to that laptop, you sound much better.
Okay, this,
Definitely.
okay, this is
Much.
the laptop. This is the microphone. Who's ever talking needs to talk into this laptop, okay? Let me get rid of this. All right, that's it for, I need help with. Now for show and tell. Who has a show and tell? Local? Online, who has a show and tell?
Camp, I have a show and tell that I sent you so you can show it.
All right, let me get it going and you got to narrate.
Is there anybody else while he's pulling that up? All right. You said if we're close to the mic, though, you guys can hear okay online?
Really good.
Really, I'm gonna give this thing away. Anybody wants it?
Go ahead.
So, I've got what's a leftover from like a little bumper bot. And if you can see this on the camera feed, but I've got like a little 2-motor, differential drive with a caster wheel. It's a little bumper bot thing. Somebody wants to know, somebody's just getting started in robotics, wants to play with something simple. You can have this if anybody wants it. It's free to a good home. And there's also this was a demo board for doing simple robots with an FPGA. So there's actually a Lattice FPGA eval board in this bag that used to be on the bot, which I will include for free. If I'm that kind of guy. Here we go. So anyway, if anybody knows anybody that might want to do this, get started on something simple, this is free.
We will not be undersold.
Yeah, right. That's all. Okay.
It's got Thomas, do you have, okay, so look at the, Alan, are you ready?
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay.
Basically, the reason we're doing this is when I try to do it from my laptop, it gets really pixelated. So I sent the link to Camp. And maybe you can put it in the chat too, so people can view it at their own speed. It's about 2 minutes, of which the first 130 seconds are usable. Okay. So far, I'm seeing a black screen.
I think I'm seeing it, but it seemed to lock up at 12 seconds.
I see what you're saying.
I got nothing. Hey, okay, I have a second idea. I'll put the link into the chat.
Playing on my screen, but it's not playing on this one. Anyways, it's basically mapping and navigating. Alan's working with us on the mock bot project where we're building mock turtle bots. He's got a Create 3. And it's got a tabletop on it and it maps and navigates. He's using the DL19 LiDAR that used to publish to the DL19 blah blah scan topic. It's got it now running on the scan topic. Thank you, Marco. Anyways, any other show and tells out there? Let me stop sharing the screen.
Hey, I'm gonna put the link in the chat so people can
Yeah, put a link in the chat. All right. Any other show and tells online?
Hey, Camp, can you hear me?
Yes.
Looks like you claimed host and now I have no control over the Zoom anymore.
Okay, I'm gonna put you back in as host. If there aren't any other show and tells, we'll go ahead with our presentation. Ian Bernstein's with us. Ian founded Sphero and Misty Robotics, and now he's got a new endeavor, Hackerbot. And he's here to tell us about Hackerbot. Without any further ado, Ian Bernstein.
Thank you for having me. Let me see if I can share my screen. Yes. There we go. All right. So, yeah, thanks for being here. Thanks for coming out. Thanks for everybody online. I live in Boulder, Colorado, so I came out for a couple days to visit my brother who's up in the city and talk to you guys and meet up with some friends. And yeah, I haven't been to the Bay in a little while. It's great to be out here. A little bit about me. So I started building robots when I was 12. I had started homeschooling and my dad ended up long story short, my dad traded guitar lessons. So with this guy that taught electronics, because I always like to take things apart and I always had this little box of, tinkering with like cassette players and VCRs and, try to build something, but I was too young to know what to do with all these things. I just was mostly just curious about how mechanical and electronics worked. So when I was 12 years old, we heard about this robotics competition and we decided to check it out. I grew up in New Mexico. This is near Santa Fe. And we showed up and they're like, "Are you here for the workshop?" And I was like, "We didn't even know there was a workshop. What is that?" And I ended up going all 4 days and didn't even see any of the competition. I was just so into building these robot kits. And it was based on this robotics called Beam Robotics, but developed by this guy, Mark Tilden at Los Alamos National Laboratory. And it was sort of biologically inspired analog-based robots. So these are just some of the robots I built when I was a kid. I ended up getting super into it, and that's pretty much all I would do is tear things apart and build these solar-powered spider robots and legged robots. And so that was my childhood. I learned most of my homeschooling was basically just building robots, and I just didn't want to sound dumb on the internet, so I tried to learn how to learn English and be coherent. So I ended up going to college for electrical engineering. I went to New Mexico Tech for a while, and then I transferred to Colorado State for a while. I worked part-time for a robotics company in Colorado. We were building sensor packs for humanoid robots. They had a SBIR grant, and I was building these sensor pads for the little servo-driven little humanoid robots, and we put Linux computers on them and cameras and stuff. That would have been probably, it was, there was a few of them. Back then, a bunch of them used just Futaba servos and stuff. I think Futaba maybe had one. I'm trying to remember what the names. I think Robotis had one. Forget what the names of them are, but they were these little 14-inch tall, 17 motors. And then in 2000 and oh man, what was it? 2007. I ended up dropping out of school to learn about business. All the engineering jobs just sounded really boring. And I thought maybe the best way to learn about business was to start a business. So I just ended up doing web design for a few years. And one day I was using my original iPhone, first gen iPhone. And I was like, wait, this thing is amazing compared to the controllers we were using. Why can't this thing control robots? This has cell connectivity and MEMS sensors and nice screen. And so ended up prototyping some stuff. This is way before anybody was doing anything with phone control, and applied to, we actually came out. So it was this idea of controlling anything with your smartphone, maybe a platform. So we like did all these demos of like putting a remote starter in my car and starting the car, garage door, controlling lights. We applied to Y Combinator. So we got flown out for like the YC interviews in 2010, early 2010. And remember like somewhere right around here, like pitching Paul Graham and Trevor Blackwell. We went to some Mexican restaurant. I was looking for it earlier after. And then we got in, we ended up didn't get into YC, but we got into Techstars in Boulder with the company that would become Sphero. So this was 2010. We were the first hardware company to go through Techstars. At that time, there was 30 companies that had gone through Techstars ever. We were in like this basement and all the company stickers were on the wall. And I think I just heard today that they're past like 10,000 founders that have gone through Techstars. It's crazy. But anyways, like started Sphero in 2010 with my co-founder, Adam Wilson. We built Brew Robotics, so the robot ball originally, the 2.0. Today, the company is doing very well, almost all in education, almost 100% in education. But basically, like our best-selling product was we ended up going out to LA and doing another Techstars program. We were about 65 people at the time in 2014, and had a 10-minute meeting with Bob Iger, the CEO of Disney. And he like pulls out his phone and he's like, this is going to be the new droid in Star Wars. Like, can you build this? He's like, I researched you guys. Like I saw the ball, but we don't know if we can actually make a real BB-8. And they were already filming the movie, but it was all puppeteered, pushing, little, things around. And pieces were animatronic, but it couldn't like roll and everything with the head at that time. So that night we ended up, like when we went out to LA for the program, like we had our 3D printers and like molding supplies and like we were the crazy people in the corner just with like all our tools and everything. So we waited because it was like crazy top secret. Like you could barely see the image of BB-8 because like Bob Iger's name was watermarked on it like so many times. There was no leaks of Star Wars before that movie came out. So after everybody else in the program had left, we prototyped one. And at like 3 a.m, we shot a video of it. We put on some Star Wars music and we made a prototype and emailed it to Bob Iger. And, a year later we launched in Force Friday with BB-8 and it was amazing. But that was a crazy experience. We're making like at peak, we were making like almost 29,000 BB-8s a day in our facility.
When did you sell?
I don't know what the final number. I mean, it was like just kind of like in the beginning, it was over 1 million. Yeah. Now total, like out of all of them, probably, I don't know, a couple million. I don't know. But we did some other stuff with Disney, like Cars, Lightning McQueen and Spider-Man, some talking toys. But something happened like while we were out at Disney. So we were working out of their creative campus in Glendale, and just down the street is Golden Road Brewery. And Adam and I were having a beer one day, brainstorming, and we're like, how do we make a real BB-8 or a real R2-D2 or C-3PO? Like a real robot that's kind of part of your family and becomes your friends, the Rosie from the Jetsons. And we started to think about that. And later that year, when kind of the BB-8 main stuff that we're working on, like the rest of the team was kind of handling manufacturing and all of that, we started to prototype these more advanced robots. And that basically led to us building a product team. We call it the Home Robot team inside Sphero. And in 2017, we spun that out into a new company, Misty Robotics. And they have we called it the Home Robot team. Yeah, it was kind of our product team within Sphero. But yeah, we spun out Misty Robotics in 2017 into its new company, and we raised more money for that, and we brought in a CEO to help run that company. And yeah, they have a couple of them over here. Justin helped develop a demo of that. But it was this idea of how do we get more robots out into the world And how do we make them easy to program, because robots are hard to build? Can we provide this robot that the people can build on, more on the software side? And we ended up shipping this robot, starting to ship it in February of 2020, which ended up being really difficult. I think it could have, you know, who knows, like it could have gone really well. I think if we were a little bit further along with the applications, because there was a lot of applications for robots, but because a lot of the early we had some beta customers before that were using it, but it was more like in elder care and classrooms and like all the things that were like hard shut down. So it was challenging. Anyways, that company was acquired in 2021 by a Swedish company named Furhat. And then basically I took, that one's not our robot, that's the Furhat robot on the right. I basically took a few years off after that. I was pretty burnt out from like startup thing, and just traveled and tinkered on different projects. And I met the In-Orbit guys like last year in Detroit at Automate. I was looking into more industrial, like warehouse and logistics robots. And they had like a Detroit pizza party. That's when I first met them and learned Florian is like an expert in pizza, and like gave this huge thing about Detroit pizza, which I now agree is the best pizza. Also worked on some other projects. So through Adam, so Tom Hanks reached out to Adam Savage, who reached out to like this other builder, who reached out to another person I knew, who was like, you got to talk to Ian. He knows how to build robot balls, because he wanted to build a robot Wilson. So that was a robot I built for Tom Hanks for, he threw like the first pitch at the Cleveland Guardians baseball game, opening game. That's kind of the robot down in the middle. It was like semi-autonomous, so Dynamixels, and you could drive it, but they wanted some different modes. Like they wanted it to always stop. So they, you know, Wilson and the Guardians logo on the back is face up. So there's a little bit of intelligence there. And then I was using OpenTX controllers and stuff. So that was fun. I built another project. That's Adam, my Sphero co-founder. This is for an experience that started in Texas. Now it's in LA. So if anybody's online is in LA, or if you're going to LA, definitely check it out. It's like this it's built in 3 40-foot shipping containers, and it's this VR experience that you go through a game with multiple people. You have headsets on, and then in the last container, you take the VR off, and this robot you interacted with in VR comes out, and then you interact with the robot in real life in the third container. So I built that, and that's running like a few times a day down in LA right now. So some fun projects to like, you know, keep my mind moving. And but I always kind of thought back to these robots. Like we still don't have robots in our homes other than vacuums. Like, how do we get robots? Like, how do we get to the robots that are cooking and cleaning, and like the robots, those robots? You know, you ask anybody, it's like, can you make a robot that could do the laundry? And everybody's like, hell yeah, right? For the right price, right? So I started prototyping some stuff earlier this year. Again, you know, pulled out my Jetson and my RealSense sensor, and you know, played with ROS and reformatted my computer like 6 times trying to get the right Ubuntu version. And like, it's still really hard. It's still at that level, it's really hard, because you need like mapping and navigation is the base for anything in the home. Otherwise, it's just like an Echo or something. We already have that. And even just like encoders are just figuring out how to get the right encoder data and get the motor to run at the right speed. That stuff is not easy. It's hard, like it takes a long time. So I started thinking like more about the problem. And I think there's 4 things. Like one is these robots are either they're awesome, like the dog, but they're too expensive, like we can't buy them. Or they're not capable. Like basically the dog is kind of an RC thing, but if you wanted to do something more, it's really complicated. And even just like, yeah, a lot of people use ROS, but you love ROS.
Hard.
It's still hard. Or the robots are just not capable enough, really, like just the very basic ones that you can buy for $100 or a couple $100. So I was thinking, how can I solve that? And then the fourth challenge, kind of thinking back to some history, is like, what happened with computers? Camp, you were talking about, I think this earlier, like we have, mainframe computers, they were inaccessible. The computer club, what was it called? Homebrew Computer Club here. And people started building home computers and wire wrapping chips together and building these early computers. And we're kind of in that same phase now with robots, where everybody's just sort of building robots. And it wasn't until the Apple II came along that it basically developed this common platform that people could develop on. And it took 2 or 3 years to get to VisiCalc, which is before my time, but historians say, like some of you probably experienced this, like it was the first killer application for computers. And now there was like, you didn't have to build the computer over and over. You could buy VisiCalc or, I don't know, Choplifter, like Oregon Trail or whatever. And that's when computers really started to take off. So I think the fourth problem in robotics is we don't have that common platform that you can build on. So those are the 4 problems that I'm trying to tackle. So one is, can I create a common platform that's accessible to people, that all the code is open, so it's easy to share the program that you built with others in the community and build off those projects, so we're not just all starting from scratch over and over. And then the other goals are, can I make something that's just really simple and easy to use, that it's not super hard to figure out, something that's capable enough to do things in the home, at least start somewhere with some basic things, capabilities and functions, and then something that's affordable that we can actually buy and play around with. So this is what I'm starting with, the robot here. This is a different version. Mapping. So I was like, is there a product out in the world that I can build off of that solve mapping? I believe it's vacuums. Robot vacuums at this point are just a commodity. There's tons of companies, you can buy them on Amazon. Like I went and bought like 5 or 6 different $100 to $200 vacuums off Amazon to test, and they're really good. You get, 1 button quick map, and it gives you a nice like segmented map that you can go in and edit and name your rooms or whatever. So I'm building off. So basically, I went to Asia in March, and I went to 4 different robot vacuum manufacturers and found a couple that would work with me. And basically, my pitch was like, I'm small, but so I don't want you to change anything. I don't have money to like pay you to do development of new injection molding plastics and all kinds of stuff. But can you just skip the last 2 steps of your manufacturing process, which are, the last step is they tape a plate down to the top of it. So don't put the plate on. And the second to the last step is there's a debug port, a serial port on the top of these vacuums where they run commands on the manufacturing process to make sure every vacuum works. I was like, don't disable that. That's the second to the last step, is they disable it. And I found a couple companies that would work with me. And then I did pay them some money to take a lot of the capability that they already have. Some of the capability isn't exposed via like a debug command. I was like, just give me debug commands for everything. So yeah, I have that platform now. And then I put an Arduino on it so I can abstract the crazy messaging system that they have, which is like really difficult to work with. So you can literally just type over serial like quick map and it will quick map, or go to X position, comma, Y position, comma, speed, angle, and it'll just go there based on the map that you can look at on your app. So that's one part of it. And can I make it cheap? So basically, I'll talk more about the F50 in a minute, but I can get this out for your price, like 175 bucks. So you get full slam, auto charging, battery, easy to connect with and put on your project for 175 bucks, which is like, that's crazy. That's like what we can do when we use off-the-shelf hardware. I didn't have a picture of it. That's a render of what. And then thinking about different versions, like people who want to do interaction with people. So I think we need like the head. We learned a lot of stuff from BB-8 about if you can kind of create at least a little bit of a connection with the user. I'll tell that story. So like BB-8, we were demoing it at some event one time, and it was kind of early on. And I handed my phone, and there's like a joystick for BB-8, and the person like grabbed the phone, moved the joystick, and BB-8 just like ran under a table and got stuck on some cords. And I was watching how they were using the joystick, and I knew like it was a problem with our app and the control system on BB-8. So I'm like, in my head, I'm like, oh man, they're just gonna like give me the phone back. And I'm like already formulating the email to the engineering team, how they're gonna fix it. And I look over at the person, and they like run down, and get on the floor and crawl under the table, and they carefully pick up BB-8, and they're like, I'm so sorry, BB-8. Like, I'm so sorry, I got you stuck, and like carefully put BB-8 back on the table. And they were like apologizing. I was like, wait a minute, this person's apologizing for our engineering problem. And like, that's what you can get when you, especially with robots, when you kind of develop in just a couple minutes, a little bit of a connection with somebody. Of course, there's the whole Star Wars story behind BB-8, but if you can create that a little bit of a connection, people will forgive the technology. And if you don't have that connection, and okay, Google doesn't give you the right thing, it's crap. So thinking about that, like, how do we create that a little bit of a connection? So I thought maybe that can help with the eyes. I did things like putting a visor on it to give it a little bit more depth, so it's not like a tablet face robot. Kind of creates more of a character. Did put some money into like nice motors and nice dynamixels, so it's nice and smooth, to try to create that connection. So people who want to really think about that human robot interaction can work with the head. And then of course, the feedback we got a lot at Misty is, okay, the arms are nice because you can do this, but like I want to actually reach out and manipulate the real world. So we put a 6-degree freedom arm on it. And I don't know, I think I'm excited because I think it's something that's accessible. So this one right here, selling right now for this F50 group is $12.50. So like something that we can afford, and actually do real things with. And I put so it's all Raspberry Pi 5 base. So I've tried like YOLO as far as like object recognition, OpenAI Whisper, a brand on board. Llama, you can get really good frame rates with April tag detection. And then this one, I was just playing around with the newish Raspberry Pi AI kit. I know there was some discussion on the Homebrew Robotics Club email list recently on the AI kit. It's awesome. Like, it's so fast and it's easy to set up. And this is running YOLO V8 small model that I didn't check the frame rate, but it was like 30 or 40 frames a second. And I just realized they have another model of the AI kit now. This is the 13 tops, but they have a 26 tops version also, which I think you configure it the same way. So I'll have to get one of those. I think the regular one's like $70 and the 26 tops is like $120 or something. And feel free to like, yeah, stop me.
You mentioned the arm, do you have specs on that, can't go or something with that, or?
So the arm, they spec it at like 250 grams, which I think is fully extended, which I think is a little bit less than a full can. I think like if it's not fully extended, you'd be able to pick up a can, no problem. I am building like a new gripper for it, specifically because I do want to pick up a can of beer. So that's definitely a requirement that it would be able to do that, which I think it will. Yeah. Any other questions? And feel free to like stop me and ask questions at any time too. Yeah. It can. Yeah. At first I was like, in my head, I was like, well, just take all the vacuum stuff out. But then I was thinking, well, that's going to like change their manufacturing process. And I've done a lot of manufacturing in Asia, spent probably 3 years in Shenzhen area, in Guangzhou. Like the less change you make, it's the better. Like you don't want to be disruptive. So I was like, oh, well, why don't I just leave it in? It's probably going to be more reliable and easier for them to manufacture. It probably doesn't cost that much. Probably cheaper just to leave it in. So yeah, it does vacuum if you want. So yeah, so you can vacuum and then get it to straighten your shoes or. I haven't tried it. You can like just in the app, you can either like there's 4 different suction modes for like different battery life, and you can actually completely turn it off. So I just leave it off usually when I'm testing because it's loud if you're using it. It drains the battery a lot.
Is it both space or you have a
So the base, that is the one piece that like I don't have access to source code. That's the vacuum manufacturer's code. But we just have low-level access to query everything. So we'll be able to get like raw sensor data from the LiDAR. We can do raw motor commands, drive commands, but you can also do higher level, just go to XY position. You can get like bump sensor data, like basically you can interact with everything, but you don't get, the one thing we do not get is the source code for that part of it. Although.
Can you get odometry off the wheels?
Say that again?
Can you get odometry off the wheels?
Yes. Yeah, you can. Yep. So I know Camp is one of the early customers, and he has asked for all those questions because he wants to put ROS on it and pipe that data right into ROS. And
how does the navigating work with the vacuum run by this?
Yeah, so to run through it. So this one, let's see. It probably could help if I turned it on.
Because we make that safe before you kill the slam tool. Do not kill slam tool block to save the map.
So the base is like the same setup process if you just bought a vacuum. So there's an app, you download the app, you turn the thing on, you put it up against your wall on the charging dock, and the first thing you get in the app is this screen, and there's just a quick map button, and you click quick map, and it has some algorithm that based on what it sees. You do it after. I'll have to unplug this stuff. But yeah, you'll see it just like you would your vacuum. It is a vacuum. Like you'll see it building the map as it's driving around.
And you can turn the vacuum off as it's doing that. As it normally makes the map before it vacuums.
So some of them actually do vacuum as they're doing the quick map. This one does not. So it will just kind of generally just drive into the center of the room and kind of spin around. And if there's any areas, it'll go investigate them. And then once it's done mapping, then it will start to vacuum. And then I just stop it at that point until it go back to its dock. And then you have access. Then you can just, so we're working on it.
You say you can tell somewhere.
Yeah.
Just click on the map and it proves the map here.
So we're working on like a tool so we can pull maps off and you have access to that raw map file, which shows where all the walls are and the rooms and the names of the rooms and all the segments. So we're working on a tool where you can just open up that file and click on it, click on a position, and it'll tell you what XY position that is. So you can kind of figure out the coordinate system. In the app, the app is the vacuum app. So you can click on it in the app and it'll like go to it'll vacuum that spot, like a spot clean or something. Or you can just send it a command, like go to, once you figure it, usually I just run it like go to 0, 0, and then I go to like 1.
The Raspberry Pi and see that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I use like VNC. It's all VNC into or you could just SSH, either way. And then I use Miniterm as a serial port monitor. And then once you've opened Miniterm, then you can literally just type in like go to comma, whatever, or doc or whatever you want. Yeah, or you can send those same commands through Python or whatever language. It's just a serial device that shows up on the Pi. Yeah.
I was wondering how many people are taking the all the hardware and software and also where are you assembling?
Yeah. Good question. So for online, yes, like where, how many people did it take to build this and where is it being assembled? So mostly it's just been me. My Sphero co-founder, Adam, he's been helping out, another friend, Skylar, Jack, he's been helping with assembly, getting production ready, and now some stuff on the business side. So yeah, we have kind of a small group, and then the early customers who I call F50, I'll talk about that in a minute, like Camp has been offering a lot of really helpful feedback. So early customers, we've been doing calls every couple of weeks, and that's been great. Like they're like, Ross, or like, we don't have the robots yet. Can we simulate it? We need URDF files for the robots. So Adam's working on that now as an example. Manufacturing, so mostly because I want to be able to iterate quickly. Past companies, like sometimes you realize there's something wrong with the design and you want to change it. And you ask the engineering team, you're like, how do we change that? And they're like, well, it's going to take 4 people and, 6 months we'll have that change. And you're like, oh my God, like, why does it take so long and so many people to make, a small change? So all 3D printed parts. So I have a print farm in the office in Boulder, and we're just printing all the parts. So that if we discover a better way to do it as we're assembling them, we're just like, okay, like open the CAD, make the change, start printing the new versions. Yeah.
So if you zoom out, read the business case of this, do you want us, if we need to not only build ideas and document and share with other people, so, or you want us to just be in our little corner, not share and build stuff, and then we have something interesting virtually, we use your platform?
Yeah. So the question is like the community, like what is the ask of the community? Is it kind of, build in your home? Do you want us to share? I think, like what I want personally is I want like more robots like helping us and figuring out new use cases. And I think we can build a lot of these. Like we don't need like 600 billion raised figure AI companies with like, you know, years down the road, they'll like figure out how to make their stuff cheaper. I think we can do a lot. I think my hope is like the community shares what they're working on so we can build off of each other's code, build off of each other's projects or ideas, even if it's just an idea of like, hey, I made a robot that did X. You're like, wow, that's cool. What if it, you know, did this variation of that, or like that same thing, but for a different use case? Like,
They want this to be sort of an Arduino, right? But
yeah,
on
the platform.
Platform is well. And a good community and easy to work.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. These are just some high level, you know, there's like TOF sensors on there for, you know, of course we need to detect objects that are higher than the LiDAR that's already on there. Battery life, like we did a hackathon at Adams on Friday and we had it running for about 12 hours before the base finally died. So the battery life is really good. And it was driving around and we had we didn't have an arm on that one. We had all the other systems. The base comes with cliff sensors, so that's all built into the base, so it doesn't drive down your stairs. Global shutter cameras. There's a mouth.
I have another question. You know, the mobile base, you have this Arduino, and then you like did a layer where it's super easy to go on that XY coordinate. It goes there.
Yeah.
But when you go another step with the face or the arm, did you put that same effort to make the use of that arm super easy?
Yeah. So I'm abstracting that a little bit too. I set it up so it's quite modular. So there's basically small Arduinos on each piece, and it's all connected together over an I2C bus. So yeah, with the arm, you can control the arm, for instance, by angle, or you can use a coordinate-based control, and you can lock certain axes if you wanted to, like, you know, keep the hand on a plane, things like that, and it'll figure out all the kinematics. But yeah, also like trying to make it as dead simple as possible. So like you're not, because, you know, I do this full time, but like most of us don't do this full time, and you have families and other things you need to do. You have an hour or something to sit down and work on the robot. And my goal is to make it so you're not struggling to, like, you know, install the operating system or something. You can just, yeah, it's like you can just jump in and like not get stuck on that kind of stuff. You can start to work on the real thing you want to work on, which is, you know, how do you make it throw the ball for your dog or something, right? Not, okay, I want to make the thing throw the ball for my dog, and it's like you work your way back, and it's like you need to get the, you know, not even the, you need to like figure out how to mount the motor, right, before you even get to that step. Yeah, how do we skip all that stuff and go further? All the pieces, like they're all Arduino, so all that source code is available. So if you need to modify it in a raw source code, it's all out there, and it's just standard stuff. And if you want to run, like, I don't know, we did a hackathon a while back, and I just wanted to like have the head follow my finger. So I was like, well, what's like a finger tracking algorithm? And like, I just Googled it, and some YouTube video came up, and in 20 minutes, I just followed the guy's commands on YouTube and had MediaPipe tracking my index finger. And then I sent that to the head, you know, the XY, just wrote like one math command to translate pixels in the image to rotation angle, and it was tracking my finger. So just trying to make it super fast and utilizing everything that's already out there. It's not some proprietary black box. My sort of like minimum bar for the robot is that I need to be able to speak to it, use voice rec, say, hey, Hackerbot, can you grab me a beer? And the robot should be able to use the map to drive to a mini fridge, use the arm to open the fridge, grab a beer, close the fridge, and bring it back. Like, that's my minimum bar for the platform. If it can't do that, then it's not good enough.
Did you do it, or you're still working on it?
Still working on it. Where I have to build I'm the one that has to build the platform. But I think it is, we did one hack, like a couple months ago, we did one hackathon where, it's like V1. We used like, there's like those little rectangular things you can load drinks into it for in your fridge. So we like angled that like a little bit of an angle, on some books. And then we 3D printed one little mount for the top, and we made it so it could drive up to the beer just using go to XY angle commands and hit it, and the beer would roll off onto the 3D printed thing, and then it could come back. So it was like a little bit contrived, but that was like V1. So yeah, we're working towards it. My brother last night, he lives up in the city, and he has a dog, Leo. He was talking about, can the arm pick up Leo's toys and at least like move them off to the side so I don't step on them at night. It's like, okay, yeah, you should definitely be able to do that. Pets, and of course all the other robotic stuff you hear about, like elder care and education. And yeah, the other one I want is just when I get home, just the robot just greets me. Is there something like, even with the vacuums, like when you see the perfect pattern like vacuumed in your carpet, like you're like, that's pretty cool when you get home. But what I think even just the robot saying, hey, Ian.
And
like,
you're not happy.
yeah, and that. Yeah, just says, hey, Ian, and then goes back to his charger. Like stuff like that is super easy. Messages. That would also should be pretty easy, right? Because you just figure out some algorithm to turn, and you just send a command to turn the vacuuming on and off. It does actually, yeah, you see the line where it vacuums pretty easy. That'd be cool. Draws little emojis and stuff on your floor. Yeah, that wouldn't be that hard. I'm sure there's, some way to just convert like text to vacuuming. I like that. That'd be cool. So yeah, I'm trying to like doing this. So I'm not raising money. Like I'm just bootstrapping this, like, because I think it's awesome. And I want to use like this early group of customers as a way of giving feedback. Like you guys need a URDF or like so we do the meeting every 2 weeks for the early customers. The last one we were talking about like email list building and how do we message it to people, and like talk for like 20 minutes and just had a really awesome discussion with the early group of people in the other 50. So getting feedback and helping contribute to product features and development has been really cool. So yeah, we're just closing out that group right now. And then the idea is we play with these first 50 robots, which should be giving updates. Like so I placed the order in like August for 50, like prototype units of the base. Everything else is, we have all the other parts. We're just waiting on the bases. Just silly like manufacturing stuff. So the charging dock that comes with the robot uses a 600 milliamp power adapter. And, since we have all this other stuff on top, I need like a I need at least a 4 amp power adapter. And the company sourced the 4 amp power adapter, but then they plugged it into the bottom of the charger, but the wire gauge is so much bigger that the plug sticks out. And on hardwood, it comes out the bottom. So even though it's right angle, now it's like sitting in the air. So then they had to like find some other vendor for the power adapters that can make a smaller profile plug. And they just texted me like an hour ago. They're in China. Apparently the vendor is sourcing the right 90-degree plugs that are small enough profile that will work with that adapter, and they're getting those done, and then they'll ship the units. So hopefully it's any day that they'll ship them out, and then we'll build up the rest and get the robots shipped out to people. yeah, just closing out this F50 group. So if anybody like is interested in, building on this and being part of this early community, we'll be playing around with these for the next months. And then at some point next year, after the holidays and people are buying stuff again, the plan is to open it up to a larger group. But right now it'll just be 50 of us just hacking on it and building stuff and maybe doing online hackathons. Not yet. So there's still some spots left. Yeah, I'd love that. Definitely love that. This is definitely the group of people that I want part of this initial group. But yeah, that's where I'm at. I don't have the store. The store works, but I don't post it publicly because I want just people who are interested in robotics, not just because you get the people who are like, oh, I just want to buy a robot that does my laundry, and no, it's for developers and people who know about robots. So I have it password protected. But anybody here is definitely welcome to be a part of this group. And thank you for having me, and would love to chat more about it. And I can do demos. I can pull up VNC and show you how it works, and you can try to see what happens if it generates a map here or send it commands. So yeah, thanks for having me out here. I appreciate it.
More questions here?
Yeah, hi Sal, I have some questions. So
yeah,
I've been thinking about Rosie, the Jetson robot.
Yeah.
And that's what we all want. And the question is, how do we get there? So Camp and some other guys have been working on these table bots where the end effector is a table. So the robot on basically a vacuum cleaner base can maybe bring you your phone. But that's about all it can do. So even a minimal vacuum robot is defeated by a closed door.
Yeah.
So what would it take to have a robot that was a vacuum cleaner that also had the ability to open a closed door, and would take a lot bigger motors and a lot bigger battery and cost a lot more? But at that level, that's about the basic level you need for something that eventually can be evolved into what I call a gopher, GPHR, general purpose helper robot or household robot. Because if it can just vacuum the floor, but not pick up the sneakers that's in front of it, it's not very useful. So,
yeah. I think you may be able to, maybe with this one, you might be able to open doors. You could definitely remount the arm higher. Especially if it's a handle door versus a knob door would definitely be easier. But I think it's also we need to start working towards, again, not just building the same robots over and over, but building on what people have already built and creating this kind of common platform, and at least just starting with the basics. If we remember, if you bought the original iPhone and stood in line, and 6 months later or whatever, when they came out with the App Store, for quite a while, all the initial apps were the flashlight app. That was one of the top apps. There was the iFart app that one of our initial early engineers at Sphero wrote. Those are the apps that we had for quite a while. There was the lightsaber app that made the sounds. And it, then we built on those. You're oh, graphics, and some developer got inspired by those, and it's not a fart sound, but I don't know, it's a game or something. I don't know. We had the bird one, Flappy Bird. So I think we just need to start building some of these basic applications. So this robot, maybe it can straighten your shoes and move the dog toys to the side. And then we start to learn what people are doing, and then we can iterate on the hardware. Yeah. So we can, we're okay, everybody's we've exhausted what this can do. And now the next step is we have to be able to lift not 250 grams, but really to take it to the next level, it needs to be able to go to 2 kilograms or something. Then we can start to figure out how, you know, what that platform looks like. And at some point we exhaust maybe the vacuum platform or, yeah.
There's a question online.
Yeah.
Can these devices talk to the device?
Can they talk to another device? So they're just on the Wi-Fi network. So yeah, any like, I mean, it's just Wi-Fi. So through your code in Python, you could write something to talk to each other. When one of our hackathons, Skylar built a web API server, so you can run just RESTful commands over your Wi-Fi network if you wanted to do it that way. I do need like a charger.
What kind of charger do you need?
Just a USB-C. Or I could grab mine upstairs. All right. Turn my brightness down. Oops.
Okay, you got a question? I have a suggestion on the question.
Yeah, please.
So you said that you are communicating to us to see these components.
Yep.
Would you consider make it really modular, setting up on some kind of bus like a cam or something? And then because this is all of it, you're able to so we could theoretically develop lots of different modules, model with a proper, just drop in can or camera, whatever option. Therefore, people could kind of start picking on their specific hardware, picking open source, and then it would be very easy just to look it up and make it. Like I said, when you go further, you need say a platform that can handle much higher loads and so on. Well, just modules and Hackerbot thing. And like this way, you probably create a platform for modules.
So if for online, like the thought was around I²C, like what if you didn't just use I²C, but what about something like CAN that's maybe a little bit more powerful, maybe more data rate, so you could develop different modules for the robot. Did I get that right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think we actually use CAN in Misty, and partly because I²C was unreliable. But so I heard about this chip. It's like this magic I²C chip that you can put anywhere on your I²C bus. This is what they claim. I haven't had any problems with it. You stick this, like, it's expensive. It's like a $4 chip. And apparently you can run I²C over like 100-foot cable.
It's a noise environment.
I mean, happy to share it. Like, yeah, apparently there's this chip. So I'm trying. I haven't had any bus issues since putting this chip on. And yeah, with Misty, I mean, the cable's only this long, but it was going through the neck of the robot, and we just had drop packets everywhere, and it was just completely unreliable. But apparently this is like magic I²C chip that works, that I put on the main controller on the base. But like data rate, I mean, part of it is, we'll have to see. Like, yeah, would love feedback, and you're like, I want to add this particular sensor that the data rate I²C is not fast enough, or if there's, you know, something, like, would love that feedback of like specifically like what it is, and if there's a way to better generalize. I chose I²C just because it's like there's 2 ports up here, 2 on the head and 1 on the base for, like, you get the whole SparkFun quick system or the Adafruit Stemma, so that you could just add those, you know, there's 60 sensors that they sell. It would just be super easy to add in and talk to those different devices if you want an environmental sensor and I put some hole patterns around the top of the head that kind of follow the whole spacing of the quick boards from SparkFun and Adafruit. So hopefully it's just super easy to add in other stuff off the shelf, so we don't have to build custom, you know, and then it's all Arduinos. So you just, you know, download the Adafruit or SparkFun libraries that we all share. But yeah, would love, like, if you have specific, like, you know, I need this, I2C wouldn't work for that, like, definitely let me know.
The whole spot.
Yeah. Definitely. Just
Is it
smokes.
Does your chicken burst be different or?
I don't know what it does.
Okay.
Somehow I don't know, I
Okay,
will give you the part number, you can look at the data sheet. Yeah.
You have a question? In Bernstein.
Thank you.
This, the mailing list, the store and the password, and you guys can check it out. Send you an email directly if you'd like to get involved in developing for the Hackerbot. right?
Yeah. Yep.
Okay,
Yeah, we have a Discord too. If you go to just hackerbot.co, just put in your email and I'll send you the link to the Discord. So we're sharing information on there on development and pictures and stuff as you're building stuff, but all the details like we do with the F50 group, like the, you know, shipping, you know, everything we're getting from China and like that level, we do on the F50 calls.
what do you think of the one?
Try it. Yeah.
That's what I
Sure.
was saying. Live demo. Hey, Thomas. Recording going, we're trying to do a live demo.
I can't hear you. I can't hear you well. What'd you say?
You said keep the recording going. I'm gonna try a demo.
Sounds good.
You want me to mute it? Yeah, 1 sec. There we go. All right, let me see if I can do a demo. So let's see, share. I'm gonna share my screen.
Is your microphone still on?
It's on now. I'm gonna share my screen. Need a new laptop.
Chris, are you up there? Can I remote control the dog?
All right, so I use a VNC type Tiger.
Let's visualize.
This is my robot.
We're still sharing the screen.
Yeah.
Get some video on that and walk the dog on this. For our only new participants. In these. Is that video on the Zoom call still?
Yeah.
Can you share that?
So this is, If you want me to demo or not,
Oh, we're gonna do the demo of the screen.
it's up to you. Yeah, we can stop it. We can switch to that. And my computer is. I think it's because the battery is low. It's like super slow. Right. I'm gonna mute.
Leave your microphone on. Is this camera on there? Okay. Spotlight Ralph's. Yeah.
So if you just want the dog and like the remote control, I think it's like 4. But if you want to be able to install your own software, I think we look it after like 16.
With the LiDARs?
With the LiDAR and sort of maybe mark. They have a model for 1600, but I think that's like 5.
Yeah. We're gonna be able to get the Hackerbot going.
Uh-oh. Yeah.
It's not specific for that, but I have that's gonna be small. Want to jump in?
Yeah. There we go. There we go. Do that again. Can you do some voice? What's the temperature outside?
Put that in there yet.
Is that a keyword?
Yeah. My like 7-year-old laptop is struggling right now.
I'm not.
We're hard to impress, but easily amused.
I don't know. My laptop is like, I think it's because the battery is low. It's like throttling or something.
Are you gonna be able to make it the base for it around?
Yeah.
Is that a yes?
Yeah, I might have to drop off the meeting though.
I've got all on, is this camera on the robot driving around, you can drop off the meeting.
Yeah, do you have audio?
I think so, we need to know we're done. That's okay, I think we're done, but I mean, if you can make it run, I can just capture it on the video.
Right.
Unless you got one thing you can try. He's disconnected from the meeting.
I think I can figure out the meeting audio, but at some point, whenever we have to.
Because he needs to tell how to do it.
You want to get off?
So I think I just need to like reboot my computer. It's like
Lose the audio. Yeah, so, someone else outside.
Is that muted? Is the,
I just need to get it rolling around and then we'll stop recording, shut down the meeting. If you can get it rolling around, I don't even care if it's audio. I just want to capture it on tape.
yes.
We're trying to catch.
What?
We're trying to connect.
I have to go back to the laptop.
Yeah.
Is this doing the mapping? Yeah, quite an assemblage of robots here.
There. No, it's mapping.
Is it mapping?
Yeah.
Okay. I don't see it moving. Maybe it's intimidated with these other robots around it. Oh, here's mapping. So here's the Hackerbot doing the mapping. Any interesting? Thank everybody for coming out to our meeting this evening. Thanks for especially. So I make a motion this meeting be adjourned. All in favor, say aye. Those opposed, say nay. Ayes have it, meeting adjourned. Thomas. Off recording. Thank you very much.